All right, folks, finishing up the notes for chapter 26 with this video. We're going to talk now about what happens in a live audition, and first off, how to prepare for a live audition. Now, it's going to be very natural for you to get a bit nervous and anxious before you go into an audition. Get those butterflies in your stomach and, maybe work up a little sweat, kind of think about this thing, that thing, whatever, overanalyze things, if you will. If you find yourself getting nervous, very common to do, don't worry about it as much as you possibly can. Not worry about it. Try taking in some relaxation exercises. You need to prepare yourself mentally and physically for the audition. Sometimes just breathing in and out, trying to clear your mind, make it so that you can focus on the task that you have in front of you. Loosen yourself up with some daily stretches, I should say, and some voice exercises. These things should continue to be a regular part of what you do to increase your abilities as a voice actor. Continue to use all those different tactics that we learned in the textbook in the fall semester. Dress comfortably, yet also dress professionally. You want to be careful not to wear clothing or jewelry that will make noise, because you don't want those noises being picked up by the microphone. Clothing that rubs, especially, or might create a certain amount of static, might not be the best thing to wear. Jewelry, you don't want things that are going to dangle and clang and things like that. So be mindful of those things. If your audition is close to mealtime, you want to make sure that you eat lightly and avoid foods that might cause problems. Don't eat things that would create a lot of gas. Don't eat things that may make your mouth dry. Those sorts of things. Be very careful about what you choose to eat if you have to eat before going into a session. Live auditions are usually scheduled, so plan to arrive at your audition about 15 to 20 minutes before your scheduled time. It's common practice, especially in the communications industry, that if you're not 15 minutes early for whatever it is you're supposed to do, you're pretty much considered late. So make sure that you plan your route if you have to travel, account for any delays or things that may happen, and make sure you give yourself that cushion that you get there within a reasonable time prior to your scheduled call time. Always bring several sharpened pencils for making copy notes and changes. Also bring a bottle of water. Don't assume that the studio will provide those things for you. A briefcase or tote bag containing your supplies, your business cards, and maybe even a CD or two of your demo can add that extra touch of professionalism. Carrying an office in a bag, if you will. And when you do this, it's not so much for the people that you're auditioning for. I mean, they already know who you are. They called you in for the audition. Maybe they would ask for materials from you. Most likely not. Don't offer it to them. Don't force it on them. But have that stuff with you, because you never know who else you might meet. Maybe there's another client in the building. Maybe there's another actor that has a lead on another gig that, they want to tell you about. You can offer your materials to those people. And when you have a briefcase or a book bag or something with all of your materials in it, it shows that that you come prepared for any and all situations. In addition to having all those different items listed here, you may also have some things that you just use yourself, like your pencils, like your bottle of water. Maybe you keep your own set of headphones. A lot of people like to use their own headphones whenever they're in recording sessions. It's not a bad idea. So keep all those things in a nice sort of travel bag or briefcase or something like that that you can take with you. Find the correct audition and pick up your copy. Make sure you're in the right place. Sometimes, especially if you're going to a production studio, they may have several different projects going on at the same time. Make sure you're in the right place. Once you're signed in, you are considered available to audition, and then you might be called on at any time. So always be ready. If you're early, if you want to take some time to study the copy, maybe wait a few minutes before signing in. If you get there with enough time, wait until maybe 10 minutes before or so to actually put your name on the list, and that gives you a little bit of breathing room to be able to look things over. If you're scheduled for a specific time, be sure you are in the waiting area a few minutes beforehand, just in case they're actually running a little bit ahead. That can happen. Make sure that you are ready whenever they want you in the studio. In many cases, you will see the copy for the first time only after you have arrived on site. So it's that much more important for you to get to the studio early and to allow yourself the opportunity to preview the copy if the studio makes that available to you. Once you get there, though, be prepared to wait. It's almost kind of like when you go to the doctor's office. They want you there early, but then they make you sit in the waiting room until they're ready for you. But if you're late, then it's a problem. Well, it's the same thing with auditions. Even if the audition starts on schedule, chances are that within a short time, the producers will be running late. Have something to read or do while you wait for your turn. Stay relaxed and calm. Keep breathing. Continue to put yourself in that place where you are calm and confident and ready to go. Networking can be a valuable tool when it's used properly, because it's often not what you know, but who you know that gets you work. There is that sort of being associated with certain people and being in the right place at the right time with the right person. So make the most of every opportunity. Even though these people might be competition, those that are also auditioning with you, you might make a connection for work that would have otherwise passed you by. If the copy for a dialogue is what you have in front of you, you might find another performer willing to run lines or practice the copy with you. This can be an advantage for both of you. So, another reason why to be friendly and do some networking. Use your waiting time to study the script for your character, for keywords, target audience, for anything that's unclear, especially words that you don't understand or don't know how to pronounce. This is a great opportunity for you to not just study your copy, but to mark your copy and make note of all of those things so that you're prepared for them when you go into the studio. Try to get a feel for what they're looking for. What sort of attitude do they want? What sort of delivery? Check up on those pronunciations of certain words. Know as much as you can about what the script calls for, what the overall project calls for, and allow yourself to get to the point where you're comfortable with those things. Note the important words or phrases, the advertiser, the product name. Note where you want to add drama or emotion, where you might want to pull back and lighten up a little bit. Again, mark your copy, make notes. Mark it in advance so that you will know what you need to do to achieve the delivery you want. Don't expect to keep it all in your head, especially if perhaps you give a great audition and they like what you did, but then they want you to change the delivery style. That can throw a lot of people off. So if you make notes about different words and things like that, it's easy for you to still rely on those while changing the overall tone of your delivery. Rehearse out loud and time yourself. Now, this is important. Now, on one hand, you might be in a waiting room where you can't necessarily do things at full projection, but perhaps you can find a corner and quietly do these things out loud. The thing is, you don't want to rehearse silently. You don't want to just merely read the words in your head. You don't want to just do it in your mind. You want to physically do it. You want to feel the experience of how the words come out of your mouth. Not just for the purposes of how you're going to present, but it also helps you for things like timing. What's the length of the copy? Timing in terms of where you should have effective pause or elongation of words and things like that. We read in our mind significantly faster than what we actually speak when we're reading out loud. For some people, it can be 2 to 3 times faster that we read in our head as opposed to how we speak. So it's important to rehearse out loud. And be careful not to overanalyze. Read the copy enough times to become familiar with it, and then once you've kind of got your idea of what you want to do, go ahead and put it aside. Work on clearing your mind of the anxiousness and anything else that's going on so that you're not completely obsessing about it to the point of overkill and ruining any chances you have because you've built up nervousness inside of you. Decide on the initial choices for your delivery and then commit to them, but be prepared to give several different variations. This is another place where marking up your copy for notes might be helpful. If you see a line that can be done dramatically or matter-of-factly or in a humorous sort of way, perhaps make a note of your copy on that. And there's so many other things that you can interpret more than one way when you're reading a script. So try to find those. Make your first choice, but keep choice 2 and choice 3 in the back of your mind. Auditions for TV spots may or may not have a storyboard available. This can be a helpful tool. A storyboard is a series of drawings similar to a cartoon strip that describes the visual elements of a TV commercial or film that correspond to the copy. If there's a storyboard for your audition, study it thoroughly. When you know what's going on the screen, it gives you a better sense of how to interpret the words that you were supposed to read, even if you're not going on camera, because you want to make sure that your word choice, the tone of your voice, matches what the viewer is going to see. Some other things for you here. Expect to be nervous. We've talked about this in a couple of different ways. You really don't want to try to suppress or conceal your nervousness. It is natural. It is part of life, especially when you're putting yourself out there to try to do this as a job, as a career. There's things riding on the line. And, there's going to be a little bit of pressure. But do your best to deal with that nervousness in a healthy way. Breathe through it. Focus on converting the nervous energy into productive, positive energy for your performance. Find that happy place, if you will. Find that place of contentment. Give yourself a certain assurance that, you are good enough, smart enough, and doggone it, people like you. And do everything you can to put yourself at ease while recognizing that there is a certain bit of nervousness and anxiousness, and that is a healthy thing because it helps to keep us humble and to kind of keep us in check about the fact that we can always be improving and always do better. Expect to be treated just like another voice. The whole idea of, do you know who I am? If you have that sort of attitude at all, take it and chuck it out the window. Nobody cares who you are. they care about what you can do and what you have the ability to do. But you're also one of several voices, most likely, that are auditioning for the same thing that you're trying to do. Expect the possibility of being treated rudely by people that just don't care. They've been through audition process after audition process. It's just another piece that they're trying to get through, especially when you're dealing with those that are handling the auditions. They may not even be the final decision makers. It's just their job to get you in, get you recorded, and get you out. So kind of keep that in perspective. They're dealing with their own stressors. And try not to take things personally. Just realize that you're there to do a certain job, to empower them to do their job. So let's go ahead and get the job done. Make a good first impression, because first impressions are important. Again, you never get a second chance to make a good first impression. Now, if you basically, again, keeping in mind that people are people, it's possible that they're going to be rude, they're going to be ignorant, they may do things in ways that you scratch your head about. But even if they don't make a good first impression on you, you need to make your first impression that you give to them as good as possible. Your attitude and your willingness to meet their needs will go a long way. Be willing to be adaptable, flexible, agreeable. Do what you need to do to make an impression. Let the engineer or someone from the audition staff handle the equipment unless you are specifically asked to make an adjustment. In some studios, this is especially important, especially if there are union people that are working in that environment. That has been the cause of many a problem when you don't allow the people that are tasked with doing a job for them to do their job. And even if that's not an issue, there's the fact that the people that work in that studio are going to know the intricacies of the equipment they're working with, the acoustics of the room that they're dealing with. If they tell you to do something, go ahead and do it. Do it exactly the way they tell you to do it. Otherwise, don't touch anything. Let them do their jobs. If you have any questions about pronunciation or direction, this is a good time to ask. As you are getting settled into the studio and you're doing the final look at the copy, make sure that you have all of your questions answered. If they provide headphones, put them on. Not only does it help you to hear yourself, but it might be the only way that you hear cues and direction from the control room, and you want to be able to hear what they have to say to you. When getting a level, read your copy exactly the way you plan to perform it. This is your mic check. Don't go on and use testing 1, 2, 3. Don't say A, B, C, D or use other wording or things like that. Use your copy. Deliver your copy the way that you intend on delivering it. It does a couple of things. Number one, it allows the engineer to get a true representation of your voice for the purposes of the copy that you are reading so that they can record you at optimum levels. It also could be very convenient for you and the engineer because if you deliver that copy perfectly the first time, they might just use the mic check. It's happened more than occasionally. So go ahead and do the copy. Do it with all the passion and all the intensity that you plan on doing that copy. And who knows, you might be saving time and money for everybody while still earning your paycheck. Make the copy your own. Your best bet for getting a job from an audition is to discover the character in the copy and to allow that character to be revealed through your performance. It's that idea of getting into the box of the character and totally enveloping yourself in who that character is, what he or she sounds like, its body movements, all those things that we've talked about in realizing who the character is and how you interpret that character. Own it. Make it your own. Use your skills of voice acting to make the copy your own. And, go with those first instincts. Go with those things that you made decisions on as you were reviewing the copy. Now, if they want something else, they'll ask for it. And then you need to follow those instructions. But go with your first instincts. After all, it's an audition process. They want to see what you can do. Introduce yourself with a slate and then do your best. What are we talking about with a slate? Basically, in most cases, the slate is going to include your first and last name. It's going to include the name of your agent, or if you don't have an agent, it's going to be your contact info, your email address, your phone number, and then the title of your audition. So you would say, this is Fred Brucker, here's my phone number, and this is script 1483, or whatever the title of the script is. You might be asked to slate in a specific order, add additional information, leave an item out, whatever you're told to do, do it. And sometimes talent buyers just want your name and your agent's name. So there's what we give here in the notes is kind of the general way that slates are done, but it could be different expectations when you go from production company to production company. Now, how do you deliver the slate? There's a couple of schools of thought here. One is to slate using your natural voice, and this could kind of serve as a second audition. It gives the people a chance to hear what you truly sound like, who you really are, and perhaps give indication that your voice might be good for other projects. There's also the train of thought that says it's better to slate in character so that it provides continuity for you for the audition. So there's kind of advantages to one or the other. Now, if you have an agent, they may have an idea on how you handle the delivery of the slate. Ask him or her for their preference. After you slate, you're going to want to wait a few beats, 2 or 3 seconds, as you prepare yourself mentally by visualizing the scene and physically with a good diaphragm sort of being. Then begin. Don't just jump in and start reading. Give yourself that momentary pause to make sure you're truly enveloped into the script and the scene and the character so that you can give your best possible performance. Not only that, but leaving a bit of a pause between the slate and the actual read is also helpful for engineering and post-production purposes. At a live audition, you may or may not receive direction or coaching from the casting person. If you are given direction, it might be completely different from your own interpretation. And we've talked about that somewhat and kind of gotten you prepared for that possibility. You might also be asked to give several different reads. And no matter what you hear from the director's booth, you need to be flexible enough to give the producer what he or she wants, whether you think it's the correct thing to do or not. Because again, they want to know that you're flexible, that you're amenable, that you're able to take direction, and that you're easy to work with, as well as being a good voice actor. You may or may not be able to ask questions. It depends entirely on the producer and the audition setup. Again, some producers like to see what you can do on your own. Some will appreciate that you care enough about the script to be able to get their insight and get them to tell you exactly what it is they want from you. Feel that out as best as you possibly can. Offering your opinion on the script, the project, the direction, generally not a good idea in the audition process. It's something you can do if it feels appropriate, but generally you kind of want to keep your opinions to yourself. There's going to be more opportunity to do that if you actually get the gig. All this because some producers might be open to suggestions or to a different interpretation. Others, they want it their way, and that's the way, and you do it their way. So, as much as is possible, try to not have any debates on the direction that something should go, especially in the audition process. When you're done with the audition, thank those that worked with you, and then leave. Don't hang out. Don't pester them. Don't try to find out who's got an edge or anything like that. Just thank them for their time and then head on out the door. It's possible they may allow you to take the script with you. Sometimes they may ask for you to turn that back in. That's going to be different from production house to production house. And that's pretty much it. That is the process of what happens when you go through a live audition. While you're there, try to own the session as much as you possibly can. Begin by observing the environment. Immerse your senses in the sounds and the sights of wherever you are. This is in a literal sense as well, so that you're kind of comfortable in your surroundings. And then as you're comfortable physically and literally, you can adapt that to be comfortable with the story and the scene and the character. Close your eyes and in your imagination see yourself and stay in the present tense. Be in that particular moment, because at that moment is all that matters. Doing the job that you were asked to do and putting out your very best effort. After the audition, an agent will call you if you get the job or if you're requested for a callback. If you didn't get the gig, they're usually not going to call you. So it's possible that when you walk out the door from the audition, that's the last you ever see or hear from them. But if you do get a call, that's generally a very good thing. While you're waiting for that call, write your follow-up letter, send off that email, send off that thank you card, whatever that may be, and then move on. Because that will help in your providing quality service to your clients, that even if they decide not to use you for that particular project, the fact that you took the time to be gracious to them could help keep you in the front of their minds for future work. Producers may ask for a second audition, and that's called a callback. And when they do that, that generally means that you're in the short list along with other candidates for that particular job. A callback session will generally be much more relaxed. You might have more time to work with the script or receive direction from the producer. It's a second audition, but it's generally not going to be as rushed. They're going to be paying more attention to detail. So they want a more comfortable environment. They want for everyone to be on the same page as much as possible. Also, when you go, don't be surprised if the script has changed. It's possible they want to see you do various types of reads, using different types of words, different types of emotions, to be able to see another side of you and your performing abilities. And then, once it's all said and done, whether you get the gig or not, be good to yourself. Don't second guess things. It's self-defeating. It's counterproductive. Know that you did your best. If there is something that you can objectively say, you know what, I didn't do very well in this particular thing, fine. Work on that. Develop that skill. Find a coach to help you with that, or work on various exercises that will help you to conquer that particular issue. But don't beat yourself up. Don't call yourself stupid and dumb and a failure and all those sorts of things. Be good to yourself. Do something positive. You went on an audition. You got called for an audition. How great is that? Go do your audition and go get yourself an ice cream or a candy bar or take a walk in the park or, whatever puts a smile on your face. Don't deny yourself regardless of what happens in the recording session. Now, a final note here as we wrap up this chapter, talking about nuances with union versus non-union work. And the key takeaway here is that whether you are represented by a union or not, it doesn't necessarily mean that you are limited in the different types of auditions that you can do. Because really, any voice actor can audition for any job. So let's take first if you're non-union. If you're non-union, you can audition for a union job, and if you land the job, the client can qualify you with SAG-AFTRA under the Taft-Hartley law. You'll recall that Taft-Hartley allows you to take a union job without being a union member for a 30-day period. It's kind of a try before you buy, if you will. And if you take the job, you like it, you want more union work, then you need to sign up with the union. If you are a union member, you can still audition for any non-union work, but then there's a couple of things that you need to make sure are taken care of. A couple different ways that you can do it. You can ask the union to get involved to move it to a union job. You can create your own production company, and you could become a union signatory and then hire yourself. That's something that the union would help you to be able to set up. And then the third option would be that perhaps you want to be able to do both union and non-union work. You have some objections onto how Rule 1 works and how that affects you as a voice actor. You could always go in as a financial core artist. And remember, financial core allows you to pay dues, but you're not a member of the union, but it allows you to take union work or to take non-union work. If you need a refresher on that, go back to chapter 18 and you can pick up on all the stuff with financial core there. So that's going to do it. That's chapter 26. Make sure you get those notes and study questions finished and turned in. Let me know of your questions and comments on the chapter, and we'll have a discussion on those things when we get together to talk about this chapter. We'll see you then.